You know, of all the things I expected to be dominating my timeline tonight, I was not expecting Liv Morgan's ass to be up and down my timeline, but that's all I see. I put the poll up a little while ago, the Twitter poll, which we will look at later. All I see are pictures of Liv Morgan and her Daisy Dukes all over my... Not that I'm complaining, but that seems to be the thing that is most talked about coming out of the show tonight. Yeah, Liv Morgan is trending, but the other big story coming out of Raw tonight concerns a big SummerSlam match that we thought was going to happen, but we weren't totally sure because CM Punk was not medically cleared. And there's been a lot of talk lately about him maybe getting cleared next week, days before SummerSlam. They were cutting it awfully close, but CM Punk came out tonight on the show and he revealed that he is officially medically cleared. And we are going to get the big grudge match at SummerSlam. It will be CM Punk going one-on-one with Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre reinstated. CM Punk medically cleared. And guess what? We've got a special referee. Wouldn't you know it? Seth Rollins is going to be wearing the referee shirt. He's going to be donning the strap. Actually, I don't know what he's going to be donning. God only knows what this guy is going to be wearing. Look at what he wears on television every week. As long as he doesn't wear the Shawn Michaels biker shorts from 2000, I'll be happy. But that match is now official for SummerSlam. And in the main event, possible seeds. I don't know if you picked up on it, but possible seeds planted, little hints about a possible OG Bloodline reunion. We had Sami Zayn and Jey Uso teaming up tonight against the tag team champions, non-title, in the main event. But there were definite teases of an OG Bloodline reunion, one that may include Sami Zayn. Now he's going to go to SummerSlam. He's going to lose the Intercontinental title. We now know who he will be defending the title against at SummerSlam. We found that out tonight as well. And after Sami drops the Intercontinental title, maybe this will be what he'll be occupying his time with in the latter part of this year. A lot of people have been telling me they think that Sami Zayn could be a part of that whole Bloodline storyline in some way. I wasn't so sure about that, but after tonight, I think it's a definite possibility. This was another rock-solid edition of Raw. Tonight, definitely better than what we got on SmackDown last week, that's for sure. This is your Monday Night Raw review. It is Monday, July 22nd, 2024. I am the Solomonster. You are here with me right now, and I am grateful for that. I thank you for choosing me for your coverage. Do me a favor, subscribe to the channel. Hit that like button as well. Super chats are open. There is a brand new one. Actually, there's a few new ones, but there is a brand new one. Do you know that Joe Hendry believes in the Solomonster? It's not the other way around. But there is a new super chat in there as well. If anybody is feeling bold and daring and is in the mood for some music, so you can find that down below. I also want to say thank you for getting the Sound Off back in the top 10 on the Apple Podcast charts. All over the good old US of A, and look at what you did. Look at what you guys did. You got me above the learning tree. Look at who is sitting atop the learning tree this week. Right above Chris Jericho. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. So a quick note here. On Raw the next 2 weeks, beware. Raw will not be airing on USA Network. They made that very clear tonight because the Olympics are coming. Summer Olympics are starting. So Raw will be airing each of the next 2 weeks, and I would imagine NXT as well, on Sci-Fi. Now, if you have Sci-Fi, then you have nothing to worry about. Instead of going to USA, you go to Sci-Fi. If you don't have Sci-Fi, I don't know what to tell you. But just be aware of that. Gunther, the number one contender for the World Heavyweight title, our resident king of the ring, was on his way to the ring to kick things off here on this episode. Gunther said that he took some time to reflect on what he had said. about Damian Priest last week. And for those who may have missed it, he called Damian Priest street trash, which is kind of harsh. And so it looked like maybe he was having second thoughts about what he had said. He was going to maybe apologize or take it back. He doubled down, and he said that he meant every single word of it. He called Priest and every fan in the building here in Green Bay a bum. He said that Priest's sob story of growing up on the streets did not make up for the fact that he was a pretender and a wannabe. He said that there was a saying where he came from, show me your friends and I'll show you who you are. And Gunther knew the Judgment Day, and he knew they were all street trash. And he called out Damian Priest and offered to take the weight of the world title off of his shoulder again, as he had done the previous week.
I am the learning tree.
Oh shit, he heard me.
Thanks, guys.
He heard me. The learning tree graces us with his presence. Only good for number 9. Oh boy, the Judgment Day. Well, you know what? That's perfect, because guess who came out? Damian Priest. Although he has his own music now. But that actually is quite the timing there, because Damian Priest interrupted. He marched down to the ring. He looked like a man with a purpose. He had a look on his face like he was here not to fuck around. He got into the ring, he grabbed the microphone, and he teased that he was about to respond to Gunther, but instead he dropped the microphone, he hauled back, and he blasted him right in the face with a forearm. So officials quickly swarmed the ring. We got a big pull-apart brawl. Security guards, referees, producers, they all got Gunther to ringside. Priest took one of the security guards from inside the ring, and he tossed him out over the top rope onto a pile of security geeks on the outside, and everybody fell down. Priest went outside the ring. He fought with Gunther some more until they got separated again, and then Priest broke free. He charged at Gunther, and at that point they very abruptly cut to commercial break. So that was a kind of a hot start to the show there. We had a promo, but then the big pull-apart brawl. The fans were all over Gunther during his promo. It was almost like Dominic Mysterio, where every time he went to go speak and open his mouth, they booed. So clearly, they're getting behind Damian Priest more and more every week, and that's the idea. Gunther goes out there. He's not out there to get cheered. He's out there because he's got that smug look on his face, and he wants everybody to know that he thinks he's better than them. Priest comes out. Even though he's part of a heel faction, he's definitely positioned as the babyface in this feud, and the people are taking to him as the babyface. Tonight, he was no nonsense. He came out. The time for talking is over. He wanted to throw down. And that's what the people wanted to see. So it's very clear how they are positioning him going into this title match. And I like that, again, he came out that way. I like that he came out all pissed off. After the break, they came back. They went to Jackie Redmond in the back. She barely got a word out before another fight broke out behind her with Priest and Gunther. And again, they got swarmed by officials. They actually brawled out of the building, and the officials were there to break them up. A little bit later on, Michael Cole said that both men had been ejected from the building, and we did not see them again for the rest of the night. So that was the end of that. I thought this was an effective way to make their match at SummerSlam feel like a bigger deal. Now, a lot of people have been criticizing both title matches at SummerSlam this year. Cody and Solo, Priest and Gunther. Not that Priest and Gunther is not going to be a very good match. I think it could be a great match. But neither one of those matches have a lot of marquee value to it. Cody Rhodes and Solo Sikoa has no marquee value to it. Priest and Gunther, again, you could have done Rollins and Gunther. You could have done any number of people in his place, and it would have had more... would have had more of a main event feel to it. This one doesn't, but the onus is on them here in these last couple of weeks to try to make these matches feel like a big deal. Cody and Solo, to me, again, it still doesn't really feel like a big deal. I don't think anything they do between now and SummerSlam is going to make it feel that way to me. But they're trying to cover for that here by making it more personal between them. That's where the personal insults are coming from. And based on the crowd reaction over the last couple of weeks, it seems to be working. So I thought that was a very effective opening segment. Look, everyone, it's Samoa BRO. Hey, Art King 187 dropping a $20 super chat. Thank you, Art King. It's good to hear from you. El Masse has usurped him and dropped 25. Has not been here in a while. Yeah, I haven't seen you in a while.
I am the learning tree.
I can't say the same for that, though.
Thanks, guys.
We have 30 of them, by the way. Was it Friday night or was it last Wednesday? I think it was Friday night. We had 30 learning trees.
I am the learning tree.
We're up to 3 so
Thanks,
far.
guys.
We're up to 3. We have a ways to go. But I couldn't believe it the other night. That was insane. Which is what you will drive me if that was to ever happen again. We had Bron Breakker and Ilya Dragunov. This right here was the match of the night. I like this even more than the main event, which I thought was very good, but this right here was the match of the night. This was for the right to challenge Sami Zayn for the Intercontinental title at SummerSlam. So it was not a match without stakes. Really good match. Dragunov's selling is just on another level. It was honestly the main thing about him when I didn't know much about him. It was the main thing about him that really stood out to me during his time in NXT, other than the fact that he's a great worker and he works a very stiff style. And rarely does he come out of a match without bleeding, whether it's from his head or his nose or his arm. He's a very physical wrestler, and I like that about him. He lays his shit in. But the thing that stood out to me was his selling and the way that he sells a beating. There's really very few people I could think of in wrestling, let alone in the company right now, who are as good at that as Ilya Dragunov. So we saw more of that here in this match. They were on the ropes at one point. Bron dumped him ribs first right on the top of the ring post. And then he slowly tumbled all the way down to the floor holding his ribs. Breakker caught him later on with a Frankensteiner off the top rope for a near fall. He went up top. He got cut off by a kick. Dragunov followed through with a superplex and then the H-bomb. He came up, still selling the ribs from earlier. In the meantime, Bron rolled out to the apron. So Dragunov followed him out to the apron, hoisted him up onto his shoulders, and delivered a Death Valley driver to Bron Breakker on the apron. Dumped him down. Bron rolls to the floor. Now Dragunov gets up, and he is going to jump off the apron for something. I don't really recall what it was, but as he's diving off the apron, Breakker catches him with a spear out of midair. And down goes Ilya Dragunov. Michael Cole said, or tried to say, that Dragunov hit the back of his head on the apron on the way down. He didn't. But that's what Cole said. Breakker got back in the ring. The referee goes out to check on Dragunov, who is laying out there. His eyes are open, but he's very stiff. And she's checking on him, and obviously she sees something that she doesn't like. She calls the match off. Gets back in the ring, raises Bron's arm. Bron Breakker is declared the winner by ref stoppage. So they found a way to beat Ilya Dragunov without pinning him, which was kind of clever, because if they were going to, beat him, if he wasn't going to win and go to SummerSlam, how do you do the finish? Well, they came up with a way. Not only did they come up with a way to protect him from having to take a pinfall loss here, but he still looked strong. He took the majority of the offense in this match. So they came up with a very artful way to get around the fact that he was not going to win. Now, I was pulling for a triple threat. I was hoping that they would find a way for these guys to go to some kind of a no contest, maybe a double count out. They're fighting outside the ring. And that we would end up with a three-way at SummerSlam, just because I think that would be an excellent match. They didn't do that, but no surprise to see Bron Breakker being the one to go to SummerSlam to get a shot at the Intercontinental title. It was very apparent, even from Money in the Bank, when he didn't win. And that was my rationale going into Money in the Bank. He doesn't have to win there. It felt to me like a Sami Zayn win. And they were going to, drag this out to at least one more match at SummerSlam. Well, here we are now. We're 2 weeks out. Less than 2 weeks out from SummerSlam. And now Bron is going to get his rematch one-on-one. It's not going to be a three-way or a four-way. There's no Sheamus. There's no Ludwig Kaiser. There's no Dragunov. So they're going to have another singles match at SummerSlam. They were saving the title change for the big stadium show. So again, it's like the people who will, and I didn't notice any of it tonight because I wasn't going around to, investigate. But there are people who, when Ilya Dragunov, for example, will lose a match, and they freak out and go, "Oh, he's buried," or Triple H doesn't know what to do with Ilya Dragunov. Why is he losing all the time, right? And I have to constantly educate people and explain to them he's not buried. Did you watch the match? I say this all the time. Like, you could tell if somebody is being buried just by watching how the match progresses, right? He's kept very strong in most of these matches. But the same with Bron Breakker. There were people who saw him lose at Money in the Bank and said, man, he lost. He was this dominant force. And not only did he not win the title, but Sammy beat him with the kick. That surprised me. But even still, I said, oh, he's not buried. He's going to come out on Raw on Monday night, and he's going to lay waste to Sami Zayn. He's going to be pissed off, and he's going to leave him laying. That's exactly what happened. Does Bron Breakker feel any weaker to you now than he did a month ago? No. He's going around every single week cutting people in half with that spear. Now, if he goes into SummerSlam and he gets kicked in the face and pinned, then I'm going to feel differently. But it seems pretty clear they were just holding off until the bigger show. They were going to give him the bigger stage and let that be where the title change takes place. And Dragonov, like I said, he loses nothing in defeat. Got most of the offense in the match. I mean, come on. Backstage in the Judgment Day Clubhouse. More video games every week. They're sitting around playing 2K24. So this week was no different. Rhea Ripley spoke with Dominic, Finn Balor, JD McDonough, and Carlito. Dom pulled her aside and said that he was a little concerned about her saying yeet in response to Jey Uso last week. Jey Uso wanting her phone number. Ripley said, she's just messing around, right? Just like Dom was messing around with Liv Morgan. So Balor told Dominic, look, you need to take care of Jey once and for all. And Rhea said, look, Jey doesn't matter. Balor asked, hey, are you defending him? She said, no, I'm not defending anybody, but I just don't see the point in starting a war with Jey Uso. Ripley told Dom to use his brain, and then she left the room. Balor then got up in Dom's face and says, you know what you need to do. I don't know about this whole idea of starting a war with Jey Uso. I mean, Jey Uso is the most unserious character outside of R-Truth on this entire show. Jey Uso does not strike me as the kind of person that I would be afraid about, starting a war with. He goes around every week, big smile on his face. He wears the goofy glasses. He goes yeet. He seems like a fun-loving guy. Are we really that worried about Jey Uso? I don't think so.
It's the amazing Gunther. Jerry Lawler loves Gunther the Magnificent. All hail Gunther.
All hail. Hey, Art King, man, holy shit, $50 super chat.
I'm the learning tree.
Has to sabotage it.
Thanks, guys.
He's got to sabotage it every single time. But Art King, man, thank you for the $50 super chat. Followed by another El Masse. This time it was the learning tree. Thank you guys very much. You guys are awesome on the super chats. I appreciate all the support very much. Lyra Valkyria, she would appreciate your support too. Crowd was a little quiet here for the women tonight, or at least any woman not named Rhea Ripley or Liv Morgan. Lyra had Caden Carter and Katana Chance in her corner, taking on Sonya Deville, who had Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark in hers. A lot of wrestlers are going to be on Josh Barnett's Bloodsport show coming up. It's actually in Brooklyn this Sunday. Shayna Baszler has a match on that show. The Creed brothers individually have matches on that show. I think there's someone else too that has a match on the show from WWE as well. Maybe Charlie Dempsey, maybe. So, yeah, a lot of them are going to be working that Bloodsport show on Sunday. Valkyria blocked Sonya's finish and then hit a gut-wrench powerbomb. This was amazing. So, Lyra goes for, like I said, a gut-wrench powerbomb, and it took forever. And the reason it took forever is that, for whatever reason, Sonya Deville had one of her arms still holding on to Lyra, like wrapped around her body, holding on. And she would not let go. You can audibly hear Lyra Valkyria basically like very annoyed, yelling at her, let go, let go. And so she finally lets go and hits the suplex. But yeah, this was not like a friendly little, hey, let go. It was like, let go. And she finally let go. So I don't know what she was holding on for dear life for, but we could all hear what was going on. Baszler distracted the referee. That allowed Zoe to push Valkyria off the top rope. The teams on the outside brawled, but that distraction allowed Sonya Deville to hit her Deville's Advocate. Get it? Deville's Advocate? It's a knee slapper. Actually, it's a very weak-looking finish, but she hit it and she won with it, so I guess it was effective. I would describe this as a perfectly average match. That's what it was. That gut-wrench powerbomb spot, though, that was something. That was definitely something. Now, we've been getting these Wyatt 6 videos every week, and I look forward to them every week. The Bo Dallas ones were very well done. The Eric Rowan one was very well done. So I've been waiting for one on Nikki Cross, Dexter Lumis, Joe Gacy. This week it was Nikki Cross. Although they are not calling her or identifying her as Nikki Cross. They've identified Bo Dallas as Bo Dallas. They've identified Eric Rowan as Eric Rowan. But evidently nobody knows who the hell this woman is. Michael Cole introduced this before they showed the video by referring to this person as a witch-like being. You know what that reminded me of? WrestleMania 37. When he called that giant box that the Fiend popped out of a box-like structure. And I remember in my WrestleMania review, I was like, no, Michael, it's a fucking box. She is not a witch-like being. You can call her a witch if you want. She's not a witch-like being. So she said, anyway, he said, this is the person who's been delivering all of the VHS tapes every week. So we got footage of Nikki Cross, while Uncle Howdy, you could hear Uncle Howdy's distorted voice saying, look at yourself. They lied to you. They ignored you, watched you suffer. Howdy said that he's been the answer all along. Cross then screamed. She just screamed. Loud enough that I had to lower the volume. It was ear piercing. I was like, oh, fuck. So I had to lower the volume. She just started randomly screaming. Howdy again told her to look at yourself. And then it just ended. All I'm thinking is, I just keep thinking of the final boss. I keep thinking of The Rock when he was beating Cody's ass, going, look at you now. Look at you now. Do I still have that in here? I got rid of it. Damn it. Look at you now. So he's telling her to look at herself. This was easily the weakest of all the videos so far. There was nothing to this. There was really nothing to this. When they cut back to the announcers, Michael Cole again had to pretend like he did not know that it was Nikki Cross. And I think that this is the dumbest thing. Because in the video, first of all, you could tell it's her even with that little mask on that she's got. But it's like, all right, if she kept the mask on the entire time and her face is mostly obscured, okay, fine, right? Play dumb. But in the video, they went back and forth. She didn't have the mask on in some of the shots. All she had was some hair in front of her face. But it wasn't like she's cousin It from the Addams Family where it's just hair and you can't see skin. Like, it was very apparent that it's Nikki Cross. And so the fact that Michael Cole has to pretend like he doesn't know who it is when they're already openly identifying Bo Dallas, Eric Rowan, right? They're not playing us for fools. Like, we know who these people are. We're just waiting to find out, why are they part of the Wyatt Six? How did they end up in this group? How did they all come together, right? That's how they've been playing it so far. So I'm not really sure why Michael Cole has to pretend that he doesn't know who this person is. It just makes him look stupid. We had CM Punk. One of the key segments, if not the key segment, on the show tonight because we were not yet aware of the fact that this man had been medically cleared. Was he cleared or not? We didn't know. There were rumors that he might not be cleared until next week. What was he going to come out here and say? So out comes CM Punk.
I am the learning tree.
And he declared, I am the learning tree.
Thanks, guys.
And blatantly jacked Chris Jericho's gimmick. I mean, of all the gimmicks to steal, that's the one that you shouldn't be stealing.
I'm the learning tree.
Hey, JR the chair.
Thanks,
Also
guys.
with the $12 donation here. JR. By God. By God, JR. Thank you very much. So they were in Green Bay tonight, and Punk asked the crowd if the Bay really was green, which actually is a very valid question. I've not been to Green Bay before. I don't know. I don't know if the Bay is green or not. If they had green water there, I would tell people not to go swimming in it. I would love to know what was in it. Maybe the Toxic Avenger would emerge. So he said he was wearing pink shoes, and they cut down to his feet, and he was wearing pink sneakers. He said that he wanted to stain them with the blood of a Scottish psychopath. And then Punk announced, I saw my surgeon on Saturday night, and he said, I'm cleared. And he called for McIntyre to come get the beating that he deserves. He said he's going to get his pound of fish, his pound of flesh. He's going to get his pound of flesh. He may go home and get a pound of fish. I don't know if he likes fish, but he's going to get his pound of flesh. And Punk pulled out some tape. He started to wrap his hands. So that was the first bit of big news there, that CM Punk is officially medically cleared from the torn triceps. Drew McIntyre walked out, and he had a mic in his hand. He stopped on he was in the aisleway. And he said there was nothing stopping him from getting in the ring and tearing Punk apart, except for the fact that I don't want to. And Punk said, well, I do. And he left the ring to go after him. This is where security and producers and referees came out to intercept him. McIntyre said, relax. We got a big money match here. And he was taunting Punk. He started taunting him with the bracelet that he stole from CM Punk after he beat his ass in Chicago on SmackDown a few weeks ago. So Adam Pearce came out and told Punk to calm down. He said there's a reason that they're not fighting tonight. And Pearce then announced that McIntyre's suspension has been lifted and he is therefore reinstated. Okay, so that was another bit of news. Punk didn't even have to come out and argue for it, which was a little weird, given the way things went down last week and how adamant Adam Pearce was that this man would not be unsuspended. All of a sudden, he's just reinstated. But okay. So he's reinstated. Punk is medically cleared. And Pearce said it is official that at SummerSlam, it will be Drew McIntyre going one-on-one with CM Punk. Now, am I the only one? And I guess it's just natural because he still has not demonstrated that he can stay healthy. I'm already fearing for Punk at SummerSlam. I don't got my voodoo doll. It's in the closet somewhere. I'm not sticking pins in it, hoping that CM Punk gets hurt. But I'm already looking at SummerSlam. I'm going to be watching that match at SummerSlam. And for WWE's sake, I'm going to be holding my breath because the last thing they need is for Punk to come back and get hurt. He has to demonstrate that he can stay healthy. 2 torn triceps, an exploding foot. Hey, I know shit happens, but the last thing he needs is another major injury. So I certainly hope for his sake that he can keep it together this time. Pearce made it clear if either of them lay a finger on each other, the match is officially off. And the person who throws the first punch will be indefinitely suspended. Then he mentioned that he had a problem. Yeah, he's got a drinking problem, but that wasn't it. He said he had a big referee problem. And at that point, they played Seth Rollins music. And Seth Rollins dances out to the ring, right past McIntyre, who did not look happy. Punk was on the other side of the ring. He didn't look very happy. He looked confused. He didn't know what was going on. Rollins got in the ring and he said that they had a problem. McIntyre hates Punk. Punk hates McIntyre. And all of the chaos that they have caused over the past year has scared everybody away from getting in between them. Even though not 2 minutes before this, we saw producers and security and referees doing just that and getting in between them. But again, let's just check our brain at the door here. He said he knows a guy who thrives on chaos, someone who would love nothing more than to put the two of them in their places. That would be him. So it is official. Seth Rollins will be the special guest referee for CM Punk and Drew McIntyre at SummerSlam. And of course, you guys heard it here first 3 weeks ago, even before Money in the Bank, when I told you that Seth Rollins was penciled in to be the special guest referee at SummerSlam. And so it is written, so it shall be told. It is now official. Rollins is the referee. That adds a lot more intrigue to this match, is what it does. Now, does the match need Rollins in it? No. CM Punk and Drew McIntyre is the best built match. I mean, if you want to say Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa just because of the history there, with the whole bloodline story, but this is certainly one of, if not the best built match in all of WWE, ever since the beginning of the year. From the moment that he got hurt at the Royal Rumble and McIntyre came out on the very next Raw and said, I prayed for this, and it happened. And ever since then, he's been a master troll. And Punk has screwed him out of the World Heavyweight Championship now 3 different times. He did it at WrestleMania, he did it at Clash of the Castle, and he did it at Money in the Bank. So it has all built to this moment. This is the boiling point now. There's nothing more that can be done between these two men other than have that first match. And finally, we're going to get it at SummerSlam. It doesn't need Seth Rollins. It doesn't need a stipulation. It doesn't need a championship, which is what I tried to tell some of you people going into Money in the Bank when you poo-pooed the fact that McIntyre lost and his cash-in. They do not need the title. It doesn't need anything else, but adding Seth Rollins in there does make things more intriguing because he doesn't like either one of these guys, and neither of them like him. So the question becomes, how is he going to call this match? What kind of a referee is he going to be? You would think he doesn't like either one of these guys, so he would just call it right down the middle. That's what people said about Shawn Michaels at SummerSlam in 1997. Even though he had beef with Bret Hart, he didn't have any issues with The Undertaker. He did coming out of the match. But for the most part, he called that match right down the middle. And here we are again all these many years later going into SummerSlam, and it could very well be the same situation. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if they did a very similar finish. Of course, the only difference is that we're not going to have somebody get their brains bashed in with a steel chair in the head, which I have to tell you, the chair shot that Shawn Michaels gave The Undertaker at SummerSlam in 97 was fucking brutal. I mean, he fucking laid that chair shot in. We're not going to get that this year. But I do wonder if we're going to get a similar finish now to this match. The other thing I said last week, and I think I may have said it on TNT, but they might want Rollins in this match for another reason. CM Punk has not wrestled since the Royal Rumble. Prior to the Royal Rumble, he had only had maybe a couple of house show matches. I think they put him in there with Dominic Mysterio. You'd have to go all the way back before that to Wembley Stadium when he wrestled Samoa Joe. Punk has not had a lot of ring time since Wembley, which was almost a year now. Now he's coming off of this injury. He's been out of action. This is going to be his first match back. It could be the calculation, part of the calculation here, it could just be the fact that, hey, there might be some ring rust. We don't know what Punk is going to look like. This is a big match, right? It's a big stage. If we have Rollins in there, the focus is less on Punk and how does he look and more on Rollins. What's he going to do? Right? He's the wild card in this now. In a kind of way, roundabout way, it could mask maybe some of the limitations that Punk may have coming into this match. Because again, it is his first match in 6 months, 7 months. And he may not look his best. I'm not even saying physically. I'm just saying as far as in the ring, bell to bell, he might have to work out some of the kinks. So that could be another part of their logic in wanting to have that third man be in the ring for this. Plus, the other thing it does also is, depending on the finish they do, it protects the loser from taking a clean loss, and it sets up a rematch. Not only does it set up a rematch, but it could very well be a triple threat in Berlin with all three of these men. Most people assume, as I do, that the Hell in a Cell match, if we get one or we get one for the men, one for the women, the Hell in a Cell match at Bad Blood is going to be CM Punk and Drew McIntyre. It has to be. It has to be. So if they're going to build to a Hell in a Cell match, if they're going to do a second match in between, the second match could be a three-way match. We have the first match at SummerSlam, maybe Rollins gets added, in Berlin, and then eventually we get the Hell in a Cell in October. But I don't think Punk should be winning this first match. And I felt that way even before Rollins got added to the match. But with Rollins in there, if he factors into the finish, if he accidentally costs CM Punk the match, there's more money in a future match between Punk and Rollins than there is Punk and McIntyre and Rollins, because it's been done before. We've seen McIntyre and Rollins on multiple occasions. What are you going to get out of it? You're going to get a very good match. Okay, so what? We've already seen it a whole bunch of times. Punk and Rollins, on the other hand, we were supposed to get that at WrestleMania this year. There's a lot of heat there. So doing the kind of finish here that could eventually lead to the kickoff of a program between those two, I think is smart business. So for a variety of reasons, I think McIntyre should be winning that first match. I think he will. We'll wait until next week to do predictions, but I thought the way they set this up, look, they're very fortunate that they had Rhea Ripley and Punk come back in time for SummerSlam. That's two huge names, two of the biggest names on the entire show, in the entire company. And they get them back with days to spare before their second biggest show of the year. So they're very fortunate. Now they just have to stay healthy. Rhea, again, she should be cleared if she's not already by next week. That's why she's not wrestling at all between now and SummerSlam. So she should be back in action. But with Punk, it's a real question. I don't know. How was he now? 45, 46? He's a lot older. He's been injury prone the last couple of years. I hope he stays healthy, because there's some big matches, that have his name on it, and it's going to really fuck things up if he keeps getting hurt. So I want to see him in there with Seth Rollins. I want to see him in there eventually with Roman Reigns, even though Paul Heyman, said that he told Roman, Punk's off limits, he's my friend. We're going to get Roman and Punk at some point in 2025, 2026. Punk and any number of people that you could put him in the ring with. But he has to stay healthy. That's the key.
I am the learning tree.
Retro KOH.
Thanks, guys.
Dropping a learning tree here on a Monday night. A lot of people very concerned about what Rollins might be wearing as the referee. I was going to say I wouldn't worry too much, but I guess maybe we should worry. I guess we'll have to just wait and see. He's 45? Yeah. Okay, that's what I figured. Punk is 45.
I am the learning tree.
Hey, Uffman, thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
For the $12 dono. The Judgment Day. In the back, they split up. They were looking for Jey Uso. They were going hunting. It's Wabbit season. And then Jey said, no, it's duck season. And they went back and forth. I mean, come on. I grew up on that shit. So Carlito went off with JD McDonough. Of course, Dominic was all by himself. And who did he bump into? He bumps into Liv Morgan. I don't think any of us would necessarily mind it if we bumped into Liv Morgan. I'd love to bump into Liv Morgan. Dominic did not look very thrilled about bumping into her, though. He tried to ignore her. She followed him like a bug. Morgan tried to assure him that everything would be okay. Dom said that everything was okay. He and Rhea are all good. And Morgan acted like she was happy to hear that. Finn Balor showed up, and so Liv said, gotta go. And off she went, and Balor was annoyed. He told Dominic to go look for Jay, go in the direction opposite the one that Liv just left in. Meanwhile, Kathy Kelly interviewed Sami Zayn elsewhere in the back after this and asked if he was concerned at all after seeing what Bron Breakker did earlier in the night to Ilya Dragunov. Zayn said that he wasn't concerned, but he was taking him very seriously. He warned Braun not to make the same mistake that he made at Money in the Bank, and he said Bron Breakker better be taking me very seriously. So at that point, there was a commotion nearby. Sammy went to go see what all the fuss was about, and what he found was Jey Uso being ambushed by the Judgment Day. That's his boy. So, of course, he went in there to save him. This set up the main event for later in the show. We had Xavier Woods, who has been without Kofi Kingston now for 3 weeks. They did an injury angle with Kofi. 3 weeks ago, he was taken out by Karrion Kross in an arm hold of some kind. Woods was tagging here with Otis. Why did I say it like that? I was going to say Otis, but he is no longer Otis. Otis and Tozawa, they took on the Final Testament, Karrion Kross, and AOP. The crowd popped when Otis tagged into the match. They gave him a lot of hometown love here in Green Bay. I don't think he's from Green Bay, but I know, I guess he either lived in Wisconsin or maybe he went to school there. There's some kind of hometown connection for him. So they were thrilled to see him in this match. And when he tagged in, they went nuts. Tozawa wiped out Razar with a dive. Woods hammered away on Karrion Kross, but made a mistake super kicking Akam off the apron because Kross used the distraction to hit Woods with his final prayer finish for the win. Flat finish to an otherwise average match. I feel like that's sort of the Final Testament in a nutshell right there. I mean, can't think of a better way to describe them. Right? There ain't nothing exciting about this group. Otis, though, was super over in the building. After the match, Chad Gable and the Creed brothers came out all dressed in suits. And they cut to a commercial break. Gable and the Creeds, when they came back, they were standing in the ring opposite Otis, Tozawa, and Maxine Dupree. Gable said that Otis taking on a leadership role in the Alpha Academy was certainly a choice. He invited them to rejoin the team, said that they would have extra protection from the Wyatt Six. I love that because he's the only one being attacked and targeted by the Wyatt Six. But, hey, we could all protect each other, you know, if we all unite as one united front. So Otis said, look, when things got dangerous, Gable fled the scene. Otis said that that's the kind of man that he is. My answer is still no. Gable said that it was pathetic. He asked if Tozawa and Maxine were going to let this clown speak for them. They indicated that they were. And Gable said, well, that's unfortunate. He said, boys. At that point, the Creeds attacked Otis and Tozawa. Otis put the Creeds down with a double clothesline. Otis grabbed Gable, picked him up for a world's strongest slam, but the Creeds hit him from behind and he dropped Gable. You know, interesting that Maxine was right there. And it made me think of Ivy Nile, who evidently is not going to be part of this new trio with Gable and the Creeds. Because if she were out there, she could have gone after Maxine. But we have not seen Ivy Nile, so I'm just assuming that she's staying babyface on her own and just is not going to be part of this. So Gable and the Creeds, they're putting the boots to Otis. The Creeds then posted Otis shoulder first. They were about to use steel chairs, but they stopped when they heard the music of the Wyatt Six. The lights went down. We heard the one single piano key. That's their music. Gable standing in the ring by himself. The Creeds are outside the ring, standing there armed with chairs. 4 of the Wyatt Six members, you could see them in the shadows, emerge from the aisleway. In the ring, though, waiting for Chad Gable when he turned around was Uncle Howdy. Bo Dallas, he was in full getup. He had the mask, he had the dreads, and he said, there you are. And then he dropped him with Sister Abigail, and that got a big reaction. Gable, he sold that Sister Abigail like death. And this is what Uncle Howdy looked like here tonight. This is our first look at Bo Dallas in the Uncle Howdy ring gear, what I presume will be his ring gear. He's got the boots on here. It's a sleeveless shirt in lieu of the long trench coat that he had been wearing. You know, I figured he would wrestle, some matches anyway in the mask, because this was a different mask. If you really pay attention, this is not the same Uncle Howdy mask that we saw when, he first debuted the character. I mean, that was a lot bigger. That was a lot more cumbersome. This one has a bigger hole for the mouth. So this looks to be what he'll be wrestling in. Now, the question, of course, is when is he going to be wrestling? Because, and by the way, I think this is a good look right here. And I'll tell you what, when they first showed him, even though it was dark in the building, I'm looking and I'm going, he looks bigger than the last time I remember him. So I think if this is going to be his ring gear, I think it looks fine. I think it looks cool. Got no issue with it. But the question is, when are they going to do this match with Howdy and with Chad Gable? Assuming it's Howdy and not just Bo Dallas. I figured SummerSlam. They already have 7 matches. For Triple H, that's a full card. He doesn't like doing cards with that many matches on it. So usually it's 5, maybe 6. We've already got 7 matches for SummerSlam. We have the 2 world title matches. We have 2 women's title matches. We have an Intercontinental title match. We have a U.S. title match. And what's the other one? Oh, the Punk and McIntyre. So that's 7 matches. Are they going to add an 8th? And if so, is that going to be the match? Because if not, when do they do the match? SummerSlam would seem to be the place to do it. I would think that they would want to do the Wyatt 6 entrance in Cleveland, in that stadium, right? I mean, they're a babyface faction. So I'm going to say it gets added as match number 8 to the show. But with 7 already, it's hit or miss. I could see that going either way. But SummerSlam would seem to be the right place to do that match. We had Bronson Reed one-on-one with Pete Dunne. We never even got a match because before the referee could call for the bell, Sheamus emerged out of nowhere and put Pete Dunne down with a running knee strike. Sheamus then roughed up Bronson Reed a little bit. Sheamus got Dunne on the apron, hit the 10 beats. Then he removed his shirt. He set up for the brogue kick. Dunne rolled out of the ring, though, and avoided it. So Sheamus hit Reed with the kick instead. Made Bronson Reed look like just a complete goof. Like a total goof afterthought here. Now, later on in the back, Jackie Redmond interviewed Sheamus. He said he knew Reed wanted to be the man who took down the Celtic Warrior, but was still scratching his head over what his issue was. Why is he acting this way? What's his problem? He said that they could go to the pub, they could have a pint, and they could sort things out, or they could get in the ring and find out who the real bruiserweight is. That's another one, right? I mean, that I do not expect to make the SummerSlam card. But that's another match that they're heating up that you would think would be on the next pay-per-view. And most likely it will end up being a Raw match probably in 2 weeks. Inside the Judgment Day Clubhouse, Rhea Ripley asked Finn Balor, Dominic, JD McDonough, and Carlito what happened. Balor said he's had enough of being disrespected. He said that he and McDonough would take care of Sami Zayn and Jey Uso later tonight. Balor also took issue with Gunther, referring to them as a joke, and said that we'll see who's laughing when the two of them meet next week. Oh, yes. Ripley reminded them that she said no one should touch Jey Uso. She grabbed Dominic by the arm, and Dom said, "What are you doing?" And she said, "We're going to the ring." I want to go back to this Finn Balor and Gunther match, which we're getting on Raw next week on Sci-Fi. It's funny that we're getting the match next week because Balor was just, I think, last week on a podcast talking about Gunther. He was on a podcast. This is what, or part of what, he had to say about Gunther. He said, Walter, Gunther, whatever you want to call him, in my opinion, is probably the best performer on earth right now. That's one of the few matches in my career that I want to have. We tried to set it up right before COVID in NXT UK. Then the world had a different plan for us. Then we went different ways, and now we're both heels, so I don't know how that would work. I've expressed my opinion to the office that I would love to get that match, and hopefully we get it done in the future. The future is now. The future is next week. I too wish that this was on a much bigger stage. You got a big event in Berlin coming up. I wish there was a story. I wish there was a way to make that happen, right? And maybe it will. Maybe it will. I remember that NXT show. They were going to do an NXT takeover. I want to say it was in Dublin. And the main event was going to be Walter against Finn Balor. And then COVID shut everything down, and the match never happened. And that really pissed me off, but obviously there were extenuating circumstances there. And it's hard to believe that here we are now 4 years later, and only now are we actually getting the match, and they're both heels. But I'll take it. Better than nothing. So I wish it were on a bigger stage, but I will take it. Unfortunately, I could see it being a fucking 8-minute match with a fucking run-in for the finish, but hopefully we'll get a good, 12 to 15 out of them next week and watch those two go, because that's a match, that's the match that got away from us, that we never got, and I'm glad we're getting it next week. I still feel like we'll get it one day, but on a much bigger stage than, Raw the week before SummerSlam. So Rhea Ripley and Dominic Mysterio were out to the ring next. Dominic was very reluctant. She kept shoving him and pushing him, told him to get in the ring.
I am the learning tree.
Hey, Esru.
Thanks, guys.
Hi, Esru. He says, hi, Solo. Hi, Esru. Thank you for the $12. Love you, brother. So Rhea said, hey, Liv, you want him? Come get him. Talking about Dom. Liv Morgan's music played. There was no Liv Morgan, but you could hear her voice. So where she was in the crowd. She was in the section on the side of the arena opposite the stage, but she was up, like under one of the tunnels. And Liv said that she's not going to go to the ring because unlike Rhea Ripley, she has self-control. Yes. The woman who has accosted Dirty Dom for weeks now, has literally jumped his bones, has mounted this man. She has self-control. Rhea Ripley has no self-control. She says she's going to wait until SummerSlam. Morgan said that she has feelings for Dom, and he can't deny that he also has feelings for her. The look on Rhea's face, she was very angry during this. She looked at Dom, and again, I'm sitting here going, what are you looking at him for? It's her. She's playing mind games. What are you getting angry at him for? He didn't do anything wrong. She's getting all pissed off at Dominic. Morgan said that gorgeous men like Dom go for girls who look like her and not Rhea. Now, if you're wondering what Liv Morgan looked like tonight, Liv Morgan, she said this as she twirled around in her Daisy Dukes. Mother of God. Oh my goodness. Give me a minute. All right, I'm back. Those Daisy Dukes, man, they get me every single time. Every single time. Oh my goodness. Look at this woman. Rhea tried to leave the ring to go after Liv, and Dom wouldn't let her go. Dom grabbed her by the arm, held her back. Ripley got upset and asked, what do you want? And Dom said, look, let me take care of it. So Liv asked the fans, let Dom speak. She said that she thought she knew what Dom was going to say, and she feels the same way. Morgan said that Dominic could finally say those 3 little words. Dom said, I hate you, Liv, which of course is 4 words, but he's a wrestler. So, I mean, not all wrestlers are exactly, they don't have it all going on upstairs. He added that he doesn't like Liv. You've ruined my life. And as he's saying this, they actually had a split screen. Look at this. What? I just became the biggest heel on this stream. Look at what I'm covering up here in this image. Nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to see. It's funny, my tongue. Anyway, so they have a split screen now. I see what you're doing, leaf fitting in that truck. So we have a split screen, and we have Dominic in the ring on one side. We have Liv, in the crowd on the other side. And you can see that the smile just kind of washes away from her face. And now she's crestfallen. As he's saying these horrible things about her, he's saying, I don't like you. I don't want you. I don't need you. You've ruined my life. He said a bunch of things in Spanish, and it sounded awful. I don't know what he said, but it sounded terrible. So he's going on and on and on, and Liv looks like she's about to cry, and she's pouting, and it looks like she's trying to cry, and so she looks so sad. And, of course, Rhea Ripley in the ring is all smiles. She loves what she's hearing. So Liv just slowly turns around. Again, she's crying, and she starts to walk off, right? She's just heartbroken by what she's heard here. In the ring, Rhea Ripley, all smiles, she grabs Dom's head and licks his face and then kisses him on the cheek. And they leave together. And they embrace. We've never actually seen Rhea and Dom kiss. I don't mean kiss like on the cheek, like you kiss your fucking grandmother. I mean like kiss, right? And you would think that one day, one of these days, it's going to happen, and everybody is going to go nuts. But she licked his face. We had Liv Morgan in the Daisy Dukes, and we had Rhea Ripley licking Dominic Mysterio. I know the demographic they're going for here. And guess what? It's working. Based on my timeline tonight, it's working. Based on all the comments I see here in the chat, just by putting that one photo up, it seems to be working. This was quite the segment here. Would you like for me to keep that picture up for the rest of the stream? Of course, you'd rather look at that than look at me. I'd rather look at that than look at me too. But they were all I'll put it up for you. They were all smiles as they left together. I was thinking that Dominic would be, I wasn't thinking that Dominic would be turning on Rhea at SummerSlam, right? Because I've had a lot of people ask me about that. Do you think that Rhea Ripley is going to be betrayed by Dominic Mysterio? And I really did not think so. I'm still not convinced that he's going to turn on her, or, that he's in cahoots with her or anything like that. Cahoots with Liv, that is. But I do think that he's going to end up costing Rhea the match. And we're going to be left to wonder, did he mean to do that? Was it an accident? It'll be one of those types of finishes in that match that just has you wondering, did he really mean to do what he just did? But it's going to lead to Liv Morgan retaining her title. Because I just think it would be foolish to just have Rhea win at SummerSlam, and that's it. We know she's going to get the title back. We know how this ends. But you can't blow it off now. It's such a big story on this show. People seem to be into it. And there's so much more I feel like that you can get out of it. That this is gonna go on long beyond August. I mentioned before, Hell in a Cell, Bad Blood, CM Punk, and Drew McIntyre. If they do one men's Hell in a Cell and a women's Hell in a Cell, a very good chance that we get Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan inside Hell in a Cell. Now, maybe they don't want to give the Cell gimmick to the same brand. 2 Cell matches for Raw instead of doing 1 for Raw, 1 for SmackDown. I think doing 2 is stupid to begin with. And I just think it works for Punk and McIntyre. I'm hoping it's just them. But again, if they expanded it where we have 1 for the men, we have to have 1 for the women. If you look at the women's feuds right now, Rhea and Liv is the one that makes the most sense. Zelina Vega came out and she had her right arm was heavily wrapped up, like a mummy. Looked like a cast that she had on. And this was from an attack last week by Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark. She was interviewed on stage by Kathy Kelly. Vega said that her injury would not stop her. She said it's time that she starts proving people wrong and shutting them up. So she headed to the ring for her match against Zoe Stark. She could barely move her arm. She definitely did not look like somebody who should be medically cleared to go out there and compete. And it's one of these little plot holes here where if she's injured enough that she is coming out to the ring in what appears to be a full arm cast. It's not a cast, but that's what it looked like, right? Her arm is all wrapped up. Yeah, this tiny woman had her arm nearly broken. How is it that Adam Pearce is going around? He's like, you're not medically cleared. You're not medically cleared. I can't let you wrestle tonight. Ricochet, he fucking gets a hangnail in the back and he's in the trainer's room. And Adam Pearce is like, oh, you're not medically cleared. I can't let you wrestle. But this woman can walk out there basically with one arm, and that's okay. She's off to the ring. She's good to go. Was she evaluated by the AEW medical staff? So down to the ring she goes. Zoe worked over her arm, of course. After a break, Vega came back with an enziguri, DDT, and a moonsault for 2. Zoe blocked a code red attempt and hit a super kick, and Zelina set up for a 619 after that, but Sonya Deville distracted the referee. Shayna Baszler tripped up Vega. That brought out Lyra Valkyria, Katana Chance, Caden Carter. They came down to the ring, and they ran out Deville and Baszler. Zoe set up for a powerbomb, but Vega used her arm brace. Again, it looked like a friggin' cast. Hit her in the head with it. Nearly knocked her out. She looked surprised, like, oh shit, I've got a new weapon here. And then she finally hit the code red and she got the win. So Zelina Vega actually won a match. Maybe that's the biggest news of all. And the announcers acknowledged the hashtag. For those who don't know, Zelina posted something. I don't have it in front of me. I don't remember exactly what it was. But the hashtag push Zelina, I think, was trending for a little bit. They made mention of it on commentary. I think Pat McAfee brought it up. The fact that they're doing that, it just feels very forced. You know, in a way that was manufactured. So like, give Divas a chance many years ago, or the Daniel Bryan stuff, right? That was organic. That was people who really had an issue. And they took to social media, they started hashtags, and they were really, lobbying for something that they wanted to see. This just feels manufactured, like it's just a storyline idea. I don't know of anybody who's going around tweeting push Zelina Vega. So I think it's the whole thing was just an angle from the very beginning, and they're going to try to get something out of it. If it works, great. I mean, good for her, but it just feels very forced to me.
I'm the learning tree.
So does this guy.
Thanks, guys.
This guy also feels very forced to me. Hey, there's Booker T. It looks like he just got a whiff of that Liv Morgan photo. Hey, Josh Worthington. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you all. I'm going to read your messages in a little bit, so hit that like button as well. And maybe we'll do some Be the Booker later. In the back, Xavier Woods approached Adam Pearce and demanded a match against Karrion Kross next week, and he got one. So we're going to get that match on Raw. Oh, joy. I mean, this feud is just, this entire thing is just DOA. Totally DOA. Who cares? And I thought Kross, there was a video that I think Kross posted it maybe on his personal social media. It was like a few minutes long. Because he's very good with these. Like over the years, he will post these, I don't even know if skits is the right word for it, but it's these promo segments on social media. And they're very well done. And sometimes I'll be watching them and I'll think to myself, why don't we see that Karrion Kross on TV? Or why don't we see that segment on TV? I've said it before, there's something there, but like this, whatever this is, on TV, it's not working. No one is connecting with it in any way. It's not interesting. It's not exciting. Look, they're getting consistent time though. So I will say that. And that's something that Triple H has been credited for. And I think Chad Gable is the one who brought this up. He did an interview. And he said the one thing about Triple H is he wants people to get consistent television time. It's not enough to just put them on the show and then you don't see them again for weeks on end. That would happen constantly under Vince McMahon. If you watch this show every single week, what they're doing may not be terribly exciting, but we are getting the Final Testament on most weeks. We are getting the Alpha Academy on most weeks. I think tonight alone, we saw Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark in 3 different segments. So people are getting consistent television time. Not everybody is getting over equally. But that is an important thing, consistency. And that's been a big problem in AEW because the roster is so big. There are a lot of people that you will not see for weeks or months on end. And I'm not talking about somebody like Ricky Starks, who is probably in the doghouse and we may never see him again until his contract is up. But there are just people who don't get consistent TV time and they just kind of get lost. They fall through the cracks. It's hard to get over that way if you're not getting consistent TV time. The Final Testament is getting consistent time and they're not getting over. This angle is not getting over. Woods against Cross next week, I don't really see that changing anything. But then after he walked away, Drew McIntyre walked up to Adam West and he complained about Rollins being the guest referee at SummerSlam. And McIntyre wondered how this was fair, especially after McIntyre took Rollins' title from him at WrestleMania. So Pierce told him that all 3 men are going to be in the ring next week to hear Rollins give them his official referee instructions. Adam Pierce walks away. And Drew McIntyre says what everybody watching this is thinking. What the hell does that mean? So we're getting a segment on Raw next week. See, this is different. Usually it's the contract signing. I've seen them do the occasional weigh-in. Now we're getting a segment where we're getting the referee instructions next week. I mean, it seems like a pretty straightforward match to me, right? You don't put your hands on the referee. Pinfalls count, submissions count, countouts, disqualifications. Maybe he'll say there's a time limit. You got a 5 count. Like, what's he going to say? I don't know. That's kind of a bizarre thing to announce, but I guess that's their way of getting them on the final Raw next week before we get to SummerSlam. So then it was time for the main event. Jey Uso and Sami Zayn are making their way through all the fans on the concourse and just full of just rowdy fans, right? We've seen Jey Uso get this entrance before. And it just makes them seem larger than life. It's a smart way to, introduce your baby faces here going into this main event. As they're walking around, they even grabbed a pair of Jey Uso foam fingers and they did the old school bloodline handshake that they used to do, right? Little hint number 1 right there. So they make their way out into the crowd and everybody, of course, is bouncing up and down and everybody is yeeting and, going crazy for these two. Great entrance. They get down to ringside right before they're about to hop over the barricade. And there's a little kid standing there. It couldn't have been more than maybe 5 or 6 years old. He's in Jey Uso's way. So what does Jey Uso do? He reaches down, he picks up the kid, he turns around, he puts the kid down, and he proceeds over the barricade. That's what you do. Just get the kid out of the way. See, me, I probably would have just brushed him aside. But, Jay's got kids. He's a little more, sensitive to that. He picks the kid up, he puts him down. How nice of him. So we had a non-title match for our main event. The tag team champion, Finn Balor and JD McDonough, taking on Sami Zayn and Jey Uso. They had a new little production feature here. This is the first time I've noticed it. I mean, unless they've done it before and I just missed it, but it's called Tonight's Headlines. It's not like what Jay Leno used to do on the Tonight Show. It was a little box in the corner. It said Tonight's Headlines, and it rotated the various headlines for the top stories on the show tonight. So it mentioned, CM Punk it was about Punk being cleared, and then whatever other stuff, Rhea Ripley and Dom. So that was interesting. It was kind of a neat little way to get people caught up on the top stories of the night. So Sammy wiped out his opponents with a dive. Dominic, though, distracted the referee, and Carlito posted Zayn face first right into the post. After a commercial, the Judgment Day, they were working over Sammy. McDonough chopped him, but he came right back with the Blue Thunder Bomb. So Jey Uso made a hot tag. He gave McDonough a running hip attack and sent Balor, or sent him down with a flying crossbody. Jey tried a Samoan drop, but Balor raked the eyes. And Jey fought off McDonough. He super kicked Balor as he came off the top rope. Zayn tagged in. Carlito, though, distracted the referee, and Dominic prevented him from trying the haluva kick. McDonough followed with a standing Spanish fly for 2. Jey made a blind tag, and they gave McDonough a 1D. Balor, though, was able to break up the pin at the last minute. Another little hint there. We haven't seen the 1D in a while. Could be the Uso reunion is coming up very soon. It's going to have to. I mean, if Roman is coming back in less than 2 weeks, and we are going to get a bloodline civil war, it has to happen soon. Balor tagged himself in. He hit Jey with a sling blade. Jey came back with a super kick, knocked Carlito and Dom off the apron. McDonough wrenched Jey over the top rope, and Balor followed with a running drop kick. He went up top. He hit the coup de grace. And McDonough hit a moonsault off the top rope. Sammy, though, barely made it over to break up the pin. So Sammy tossed Balor out of the ring, hit McDonough with a haluva kick. Zayn wiped out the Judgment Day with a dive. Jey hit McDonough with an Uso splash. And they pinned the tag team champions here in this non-title match. After the match, as Jey was celebrating on the ropes, Bron Breakker slipped into the ring. Sami Zayn turned around, and he got cut in half with a spear. Jey turned around and saw Breakker. Breakker quickly hurried out of the ring, and that's how the show went off the air. There was somebody, Fire Panda, I think it was you. Somebody said that the show cut off for them, and they didn't even see that last part, but I don't know what people saw, what they didn't see, but that's what happened. Bron Breakker speared Sami Zayn, and he got away. So that was pretty much the end of that. So that was Bron Breakker letting Sami Zayn know, per his promo earlier in the show, yes, I am taking you very seriously, and you should be taking me seriously as well. Meanwhile, Sami Zayn and Jey Uso, they pinned the tag team champions. That now puts them in line for a shot at the World Tag Team titles. It would mean more if Balor and McDonough had actually defended their titles at all. Up to this point, they won the belts about 5 weeks ago, I think, 6 weeks ago. They have not defended the titles a single time. So this will be their first title defense whenever it takes place. Could happen on Raw next week. I don't recall seeing anything on social media when the show was over about that being announced, but they could always announce it later in the week. It sounds like maybe we'll get that title match on the show next week. But Sami and Jey, let's take a look at this here. Sami Zayn and Jey Uso, they reunite tonight. They do the bloodline handshake. They do the 1D. These things felt like hints. It felt like seeds being planted for what may be growing out of SummerSlam. And maybe, in fact, Sami Zayn is going to be a part of this bloodline reunion in some way. You know, you're going to have Solo Sikoa. You're going to have Jacob Fatu. You're going to have Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa on the other side. On the babyface side, Roman Reigns, the Usos, and there's going to be a fourth spot. Now, I've mentioned The Rock. Last time we saw Roman, he and The Rock, they were like this. So if Rock comes back and he's, the babyface on the side of the OG bloodline, and then he turns on Roman, they could do that. But I don't get the sense we're getting Rock back anytime soon. We are probably not getting Rock back at all in 2024. I think his 2024, as far as wrestling, is done. So then who fills that fourth spot? Enter Sami Zayn. Especially if he's done with the Intercontinental title. If he's going to drop that title, as I believe he will, at SummerSlam, he's going to need something to do. And if you have Jey calling upon his friend, hey, we need you. we're in trouble here. Do it for me. Don't do it for Roman. Don't do it for any of them. Do it for me. I could see that working. And I could see that maybe that's the 4-on-4 scenario for War Games at Survivor Series. But this was the first time where it really hit me like, all right, maybe Zayn is going to be a part of this. You know, in a way, it would feel like a step backwards. But then again, it's the best thing he's ever done in this company. The best thing he's ever done since joining the main roster was his time in the Bloodline. It was supremely entertaining. It made for great television. It's one of the best stories WWE has ever told. So for him to rejoin them, only this time willingly on their side, to try to help them out, that could be quite the story. So this was another good show. The pendulum tends to swing back and forth between Mondays and Fridays. Right now, it has swung back firmly into the camp on Mondays, especially after that SmackDown last week, which really wasn't much of a show. Let's take a look at the Twitter poll. Hey, Nightmare Knee. Thank you for the $2. I appreciate it. Let's take a look at the Twitter poll. What did you think of Raw tonight? Thumbs up, thumbs down. 85.6% thumbs up. 14.4% thumbs down. Holy shit. 85% thumbs up. That's incredible. Row Roman Reigns gently down the stream. And so is this. Row Roman Reigns gently down the stream. Go ahead and vote at Solomonster. Why would Jay get back with Roman, who abused and manipulated him for years? That doesn't make sense. Brother, it's called family. Don't pretend like you don't know nothing about family dynamics here. Families fight, families get back together. Jimmy and Jay are twins. So if Jimmy and Jay reunite, and that's not hard to imagine, that the brothers would make up and they would reunite, they could always come up with a reason why they are willing to put the past aside and partner up with their cousin to take down their little brother and the other members of this new bloodline. When it comes to family and it comes to family honor, it's not hard to imagine that they would be willing to let bygones be bygones and put their differences aside to fight a war that they feel is worth fighting for. So it's not as far-fetched as you may think. Buddy Matthews tweeted Stitch licking a window. You know damn well that there's easily 90% of the people in this chat right now would pay money to have Rhea Ripley lick their face. I don't know what that says about you, but you know it's true. Let's take a look at your super chats. I'll tell you what, if she ever decides to just retire tomorrow and just wants to go around to conventions and charge like $100 a pop for people to do that, I mean, how fucking revolting would that be? Can you imagine like Rhea Ripley on the convention circuit in 20 years? You pay $100 and she licks your face. Like Rhea Ripley licking wrestling fans' faces. Ugh. Oh my God. I can't even think about it. I don't even want to think about that. That sounds absolutely horrendous. All right, let's take a look here at your super chats. Hey, the real CS with the $9.99. As a fellow pro wrestling fan, in my opinion, it seems to me that Tony Khan and the Young Bucks are doing more harm than good to AEW. I just have to be honest here. I want them to succeed. I really do. WWE thrives with them. So this person believes that they are doing more harm than good. That's a valid point. We have got the Real CS says, that was a continuation. He just sent a super chat in saying around. I'm like, what? Around what? No, what he was saying is that WWE thrives with AEW being around. Yes, they do. Competition's a great thing. Some people don't understand that, but competition's a great thing. Josh Carlos, 98. You think Cena will have a match one last time in the UK next year? He teased a WrestleMania, but maybe SummerSlam in the UK potentially instead. There has not been a SummerSlam in the UK, I do not believe, since 1992, and they have not announced yet the location for SummerSlam. You know, my idea was Gillette Stadium. Go to Foxborough in New England. Cena and Gunther for the World Heavyweight title. I could see SummerSlam going to the UK. I could see that. Or I could just see Cena wrestling on a UK show. He'll absolutely have one final match in the UK next year, for sure. Whether it's a stadium or an arena, whether it's SummerSlam or some other PLE, or even a TV. Yes, I do believe he will. Licking people like she's trying to bring back the Bushwhackers. You know, even that, like, dude, when I went to the first Fan Fest. Okay, it was called Fan Fest back then, 1994. And the Bushwhackers were there. And I would not let them lick me. They licked my brother and he cried. I would not let them lick me. Just the idea of it. Like, especially wrestling fans, like the unwashed masses. My tongue ain't going anywhere near that shit. You couldn't pay me enough for that. Now these days, you got COVID, you got all this other crap. Like, no thank you. Josh says, buy, rent, sell Hogan Mania matches. Andre Mania 3, Rock Mania 18, Warrior Mania 6. I love the latter two. Hogan on, if you're going to base them on, you know, just in terms of their significance, Hogan Andre is always going to be at the top. That's always going to be number one. So it would be Hogan Andre and then Hogan Rock and then Hogan Warrior. If you're asking me based on the matches themselves, Hogan Andre is dead last. I always loved Hogan Warrior. You know, growing up, that was such a huge match for me. And Rock and Hogan at Mania 18, especially when Hogan did the kick out and the Hulk up, that's just wrestling magic. It's an amazing moment. One of the best moments in Mania history. I consider that to be a 5-star match. I'm going Rock, Hogan, and then Hogan Warrior, and then Hogan Andre, if we're just basing it on, you know, the actual match itself. Smoking Dried Chicken says, I usually don't say this, but I'm starting to miss Awesome Truth. You are the only one. You are not going to get me to say that. Eminem, yes, I will read your super chat from Friday. He said, War Games match pitch. Oh, it's the podcaster's delight here. I'm not going to work a War Games match. I'm not going to risk injury. But if all these other guys here, you know, Chris Van Vliet and good mic work, Brian Zane, you put Alvarez and Meltzer in there too. I'll be a referee on the outside. How about that? I'll open the door when somebody new enters. But I'm not going to take that risk. I got to be smart. Samuel Hayworth. Prediction, they do a rematch next week for the tag belts. Bloodline interferes. Sets up the 4-on-4 confrontation at Summerfest when Roman and Jimmy return. Yeah, but why would they interfere? What is the logic behind them interfering? I mean, on SmackDown, there is going to be this week a 6-way match to determine the number 1 contenders for DIY's tag team titles. And it's a tape show. If you don't want to know the results, I won't say. All I'll say is, I've already told you guys in the past how this is going to go. And so they have a shot at becoming #1 contenders. The Bloodline does on Friday. Why would they be bothered to show up on Raw and cost Jay and Sammy the tag belt? See, that doesn't make any sense. There's got to be a better way to set things up and get to where they want to go. And for them to just interfere, like they just show up randomly on Raw and cost them the belts, why? You know, you have to make it make sense, and that to me just doesn't make any sense. Alfonso, I never thought I would say this, but I want to be Dirty Dom. Do you feel me, sir? I feel you. I feel you. Arabian Night, I feel SmackDown is in trouble. Even with Roman returning, he's still part-time, showing up rarely, and with AJ and Lashley not on the show, the division and the show is shallow. Well, they definitely have some problems. They have some depth issues right now on SmackDown, but the shows just haven't been very interesting over the last few weeks. It's a creative issue. Antonio Taylor with the $7 Kevin Nash super chat. Nothing to add tonight. Just wanted to send support. Well, thank you. Thank you, Antonio. I appreciate that very much. I do. We've got Venom Kitetsu. Says, the learning Bree. Oh, boy. Make it happen, he says. The learning Bree. Oh, my God. He wants me to merge the two of them together. You want me to... It's like creating Frankenstein's monster. What you're asking for is very dangerous. NWO Matt, learning trees. Show some Solomonster the power. Boy, he loves those trees, doesn't he? He sure does. Tree mode. Mr. Awesome says tree mode. I actually like that. Which is better, though? Tree mode or the learning Bree? Those are both very clever. Bobbert Reviews. Have fun at House of Glory, Solomonster. Hope you have been practicing your Prince Nana dance. I have. I have indeed. Art King says, salute to the Solomonster. I salute you, Art King. Thank you. He also bought 5 gifted memberships before, so thank you very much. El Masse with the $25 Bree mode. Haven't been here in a while. Dental school has been hell, but Liv Morgan's ass brought me back. Well, her ass has the power to do that. I think it has the power to raise the dead. So, El Masse, you are not alone. Well, you get a lot of votes here for tree mode. Retro KOH, Monday Night Raw, solid. I'm hyped for the OG Bloodline returning. NWO Matt says, thanks, guys. LC Killer 17, Liv Morgan has got that booty, he says. Well, she got a lot of people talking tonight, didn't she? Smoking Dried Chicken, Gunther is my favorite heel so far. That's my heel. Art King. Art King dropped a $50 super chat with nothing but trees. And the ones. Thank you, brother. Smoking Dried Chicken, check underneath your bed tonight, Solo. Nikki Cross could be hiding. I'd rather Liv Morgan than Nikki Cross. Pisco 95. I predict that Seth is going to cost Punk the match, setting up their rivalry for the future, which makes me wonder if Rollins will turn heel. And if that's going to be the only Drew versus Punk match, that would be disappointing. It will not be. I guarantee you. Guarantee you, it will not be the only match between CM Punk and Drew McIntyre. JR Vichair, oh, you didn't know. Your ass better plant a tree. Retro, I am now the learning tree. Thanks, guys. Thank you. Chris Mikesell, what if scenario? Undertaker versus Kane Judgment Day 98 had a no contest finish for the obvious reasons. But if you had to choose between Undertaker or Kane, who are you going with to walk out with that title? Kane. You're talking back in 98 now. Kane. Kane should have had more than 24 hours with that title. Uffman Entertainment, with them not identifying Nikki Cross, would you say that this is the first misstep of the Wyatt 6 act? I guess. I mean, it's not a huge deal. It just makes them look dumb. It makes the announcers look dumb. Smoking Dried Chicken. Imagine Dominic Mysterio smelling like fish in his face the moment he walks inside the Judgment Day clubhouse. No, what should happen is he should walk in and they should say, like, wait a minute, I thought you liked chicken nuggets. You smell like fish sticks. Tokes Kazim. I would love to kiss Liv Morgan. Oh my God. I'm not reading that. Tokes, go take a cold shower, brother. The colder, the better. Dom Joseph, did you hear about the guy who got catfished by a Liv Morgan account? He sent the account $4,000 in total money. I am in disbelief. You know, there are a lot of people out there who are very naive. And a lot of wrestlers have put messages out about, because there's all these phishing scams and catfishing scams. And unfortunately, there are some very gullible people out there who buy into it. And they just give money to these accounts, and people get scammed out of a lot of money. It's sad. You hear about this quite often. Joshua Lobachek with the $4.99. During Punk's entrance, he hugged the guitar player from Harm's Way, a hardcore band, and I will always love the connection between wrestling and metal. Well, it's a good thing that you told me that, because I had no idea who that person was. So thank you. Joshua has educated us. I had no idea. Esru, thank you for the 12. Hello, Esru. Justin G says, I taught a Yeetie cat. Booba, Liv's cut off jeans will be a WWE Most Wanted Treasure episode one day. Yes, and they'll offer $2,000 for them. But I don't think the person who winds up with them is going to give them up. How would they even come into their possession is what I would like to know. Maybe I don't want to know. Josiah Ball, thank you for the $2. Smoking Dried Chicken. Liv Morgan really wants to take Dirty Dom to the candy shop. She wants his lollipop and won't stop until she hits the spot. Well done. Well done. Nick Grasso. Oh, look, we're to all this Liv Morgan talk, and we have Lucky Sperm, Kevin Nash on our screen. Look at Kevin Nash. He's ready to get in there, man. He's ready. He's ready to bust through. Nick Grasso, what's your thoughts on Bobby Lashley and MVP leaving WWE? And what's your thoughts on MVP and others claiming Triple H is a racist? Yeah, I don't know about race. That's a heavy word to throw around. So unless he knows things personally that we don't, I would not be using that word. As far as Bobby Lashley and MVP leaving, nothing is confirmed. They are still under contract to WWE. They have not left WWE. But it sounds like they may be on their way out and possibly could end up in AEW. But again, this is all speculation right now. And I'm sure, JD and I will get into this in more detail on TNT tomorrow night. And I'll talk about it more on the sound off, because I am assuming we're going to get more information as the week goes on. I was wondering why Lashley just disappeared, and I had heard, oh, he's injured, and I didn't know what the injury was. Now I'm not so sure there ever was one. It would be a loss, because he was an over babyface on that roster. But again, it's not like they haven't just been moving along without him. He's been off TV now for 2.5 months. We haven't seen him. It already feels like he's gone to begin with. But it would be a big name that they would be losing. And could they have done more with him? Of course. Yes, they could have. And it would be a shame if that's how his run with WWE comes to an end. But again, nothing is confirmed yet. But I'm sure I will be getting into this more in the appropriate forum. And yes, he is almost 50. He doesn't look it. I think Lashley is like 48. And he looks fucking amazing. But I also feel like, and again, I can get into the whole Hurt Business thing, and yeah, I've got my thoughts on that, but we'll wait until tomorrow and talk about it there. Boots, freaky deakies need love too. Oh, I know they do. Everybody needs some loving. Justin G, that's for the reminder of the Daisy Dukes. He dropped $5 on me. Thank you, bro. Libido Bell, I just joined just to see Daisy Dukes. It works every time, man. Retro KOH, why was your face covering her Daisy Dukes? Because that's when the super chat came in. I had no control over it. Boots, more cussing in Spanish to confuse the censors. I still would love to know what Dom was actually saying when he was talking Spanish in that promo. NWO Matt, this segment makes the learning trees grow big and large. Oh, I'll bet. Josh Worthington, the face slick reminds me when Paige licked Natalia. You know, I had forgotten about that. That was a big deal at the time. A lot of people were chiming in on that. They were having a match. I think it was on like main event. And yeah, she sat Natty up in the ring. Natty's like half out of it. And she very slowly, like, licked her entire face, like the whole length of her fucking the side of her face. And I'm like, she's a freaky one, this one. Dan, how many times has Ric Flair passed out today? I figure 4. Smoking dried chicken without flavor. The good son scenario. Save one and let the other one go. Tiffany Stratton or Mariah May. Love them both. I'm going to save Mariah May. And I'm going to let go of Tiffany Stratton. Hate to watch her go. Love to watch her leave. Thank you, Smokin'. We've got Pisco95. What are your thoughts on Lashley leaving? We already talked about that. Where do I see him going next? If he leaves WWE, then he will probably end up in AEW. But I don't know if he has any aspirations of getting back into MMA. It's possible he wants to fight again. But he's not, you know, if he wants to continue to wrestle and he's unhappy with what WWE was doing with him, then AEW is the place that would make sense. Nightmare Knee says Adam West. Love him. I grew up on that old Batman show with Adam West and Burt Ward. Bread Hart with the $5. I support the idea of Karrion Kross getting amnesia and transforming into Jesse Ventura. He can come out to announce to the announce table and refer to Michael Cole as Gorilla when he does his impression. If you have never heard Karrion Kross's Jesse Ventura impression, go find the clip. It's an interview he did years ago with Chris Van Vliet. They were in the gym, I think, training together, working out together. It is so perfect. It is spot on. He starts getting into like the Gulf of Tonkin, and I'm like, I'm fucking dying over here. Like, it's scary, like just how dead on that impression is. Alex with the $22 super chat. Brother Solo, if SmackDown is going to have their respective Hell in a Cell match of Bad Blood, can you see Cody and Orton having their final match in a Hell in a Cell? Which cell match could you or would you have main event the show? Cody and Orton or Punk and Drew? Alex, you're asking me about a show in October. Like, I don't know how the feuds are going to play out yet. You got to ask me that question in like September. because I'm going to go with the match that feels like it's the hotter or the more personal of the two. I can't give you a straight answer on that in July. Cody and Orton are not even feuding yet. So the answer to that is I don't know. Cody and Orton having their blow-off match at Hell in a Cell. I mean, brother, they may not have their first match until Bad Blood. You can't blow that off at Bad Blood. Like, Punk and McIntyre have been feuding since January. You're going to start Cody and Orton in August and be done with it by October? You got to drag that shit out longer than that. Smoking Dry Chicken, George Clooney is the best Batman. Fight me. Well, you're wrong, but that's certainly an opinion, and you are entitled to have that opinion. But George Clooney is not a better Batman than Michael Keaton. Will Chisholm. Jay and Sammy teaming up could be a tease of them joining the OG bloodline. That's exactly what it is. Nightmare Knee. Keep up the good work, brother. Thank you, Nightmare Knee. Thank you for the $10 super chat. Very much appreciated. Raph says Buddy Matthews tweeted Stitch licking a window. I mentioned that before. TK Banks. Need Undertaker's podcast to hit 1 million subs to get a BSK reunion on his channel. Saw when he had the Godfather on and he tried to break Taker talking about hoes. I watched that episode. I watched the video, actually, of that entire episode with the Godfather. Which, you know, it was enjoyable. Mostly just drinking stories. But they've been friends for like 35 years. And it's just them sitting around shooting the shit. It's not like a chronological, you know, when you joined this promotion and what was it like? Like, they're just riffing. They're just telling old stories. And Godfather always has a smile on his face. He just seems like he's enjoying life. He always seems like a happy guy. It's good to see him doing well. Not everybody turned out that way. Boney says, Rhea licked Dom like Boogeyman did Jillian Hall. Boogeyman didn't lick Jillian Hall. He fucking ate the mole off her face. Remember that stupid angle? Alex says, if Triple H hired you to be one of the top writers on either show, what would one major change or addition that I would make to an existing or... Oh, I don't know. You're asking me to book the territory here. I don't know, but if I had to say, like, who I would want to work with as far as, like, their story, I probably would go with Raw. And I don't know, I would want to work on something for Bron Breakker. I think I would probably want to work on something for him. The Winston Slip. Thoughts on the Battle of the Billionaires at WrestleMania 23? It did big business for them. That's about it. Baba Booey with the $7. Hiya, Solo. I'm sure you've asked or been asked this a million times. What is the song that plays while you read the super chats? It's actually a combination. It's like a medley of 3 or 4 different songs. So it's not just one. And I don't remember offhand all the names. I know one of them I think is called Back to the Future. But I don't remember, offhand I don't remember all the names. But it's like 3 or 4 that play on a loop. Thunder Force 2024 Chris Jericho says, I am the learning tree. 2016 Chris Jericho responds, you just made the list. Stupid idiot. Thank you, Thunder Force. Devin from New Jersey. In honor of Cena's retirement, will Solo put bologna, fudge, and mustard, or son of a bee sting, in the sound-off intro in 2025? No, he will not. Although I did just make an addition to the sound-off intro today, starting with next Sunday's show. I'll let you guess what it is. Darth Panic, you called Adam Pierce Adam West earlier. You spelled Pierce wrong, by the way. If you're going to criticize me, I get to criticize you. Thank you, Darth Panic. And I stand by what I said. Adam West. It's a great Batman. Always used to love that opening song. Felt like television shows back then, the opening songs, they were just better than they are today. It's kind of like WWE, where we've gone very much downhill when it comes to music on those shows. Thank you guys for all the love. We are currently sitting at 465 total likes. Very much appreciate that. Oops, my finger slipped. Oh, look what popped up on screen there. Darth Panic is the biggest heel in the world right now. Get the fuck off the screen. There you go. This right here, this is going to be doing big numbers on social media. I guarantee you. If you want to know why are we getting these segments on Raw every week, take a look at the numbers they do on Twitter. Take a look at the numbers they do on YouTube. It should not be a surprise. Go ahead and be the booker.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to be the booker.
It is time to be I know you would rather me just have that up on the screen than do this, but we're gonna be the booker. We're gonna be the booker. Then we're gonna get out of here. We're gonna begin with tag team. Be the booker. We're gonna begin here with the wrong slide. We did it again. I can't believe I did it again.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is
I
now
hit the wrong
time
button.
to be the booker.
That's the second time that's happened. Everyone's like, what happened? Where did he go? We're not doing a raid. We're not doing a raid. Oh my God. All right, we begin with American Alpha. You know, before the Alpha Academy, we had American Alpha, and they are former NXT Tag Team Champions. Unfortunately, they never really had the chance to show what they could do together on the main roster. Jason Jordan got hurt. Well, I mean, they split them up even before that. So they were not getting the shot no matter what. But they were a great tag team. I was a really big fan of American Alpha. Here we go. American Alpha going to be taking on Pat Patterson and Gerald Briscoe, the Stooges. I'm a Stooges guy. Not a Three Stooges guy. I was at Abbott and Costello, not Three Stooges. But I always was entertained by Patterson and Briscoe. Look at this. First IC champion, Rio de Janeiro. And fucking Briscoe over here, the Briscoe Brothers Body Shop with their phone number on it. Amazing. But these guys right here, they could hold their own, man. They could hold their own. The Briscoes could throw down. I think these two at American Alpha would have been very entertaining. I'm giving that the bell. That's right. I did what I did. All right, women's Be the Booker. We begin with Lita. That fire red hair. This is Lita. I could tell. This is Lita from 2000. This is when she first joined the company. I could tell just by looking at this photo. I know exactly what year it's from. And it will be Lita. You know what? I may have to add that Liv Morgan image to Be the Booker. I may have to do that. Lita going to go one-on-one with Julia. Get a good look, everybody. This woman is coming to NXT in these next few months, and she is going to leave a path of destruction in her wake. Julia is coming very soon. All right, let's do the main event. I know, as soon as I saw Julia, man, as soon as I saw Julia, I knew it was a bell. I knew it was a bell. All right, here we go. Oh my God, it's Alberto Del Dipshit. Look at who it is. I mean, based on this photo, it looks like he just saw the Liv Morgan picture too. Alberto Del Dipshit, I believe, making his Be the Booker debut. This is off to a great start. Well, let's see. Let's see who he's going to be getting in the ring with here. Alberto Del Dipshit going to go one-on-one with Hollywood Hulk Hogan against Alberto Del Dipshit. I'm going to put this to a vote. I'm bringing in my booking committee here. I could go either way on this. From a match perspective, from a main event perspective, is this a bell or is this a buzzer? I know what I'm leaning towards. I want your feedback. 10 seconds. You got 10 seconds. What do you think? I'm seeing a mix here. That's it. That Big Show Super Chat, man, that came in at just the right moment. I was on the fence. We were close to a clean sweep. But I'm not a fan of that match. There will be no Sonic tonight. This chat is going so fast. I can't even see all the messages that are pouring in. Oh my goodness. Let's take a look at these final super chats here. This is NWO Hogan. He will make it worse. I did factor that into my decision, by the way. Smoking Dried Chicken says, delete one of these movies. I thought he said moves. Delete one of these movies. He says, Ready to Rumble or No Holds Barred? Ready to Rumble. Get it out. No Holds Barred is a classic. Uffman Entertainment, Liv's picture should be both a new super chat and her picture in Be the Booker. Why don't I just embed it in the corner of the screen permanently? How about that? And Boots, can Liv's Daisy Dukes be a super... Boy, you guys really need to calm down here. You guys need to get out. You need to get some fresh air. That green shit on the ground, right? It's called grass. You need to touch it and feel it. Roll around in it. Just make sure there's no dog dew laying around. Thank you for all of the love and support. I'll throw it up for you guys one more time. Actually, before I do that, I do want to mention, on a more serious note, this Friday, I will be at House of Glory. We have our High Intensity Show 2024, our biggest event of the year. We have the AEW World Champion Swerve Strickland 48 hours after leading Team AEW into War Games. Or as they call it, Blood and Guts, but it's War Games. He's coming to NYC to take on the Amazing Red. And I will be on the call for that match. We have Mike Santana as well, defending the HOG World Heavyweight title against that, that man you see in the lower right-hand corner. That is Zilla Fatu. The bloodline will never end. The bloodline is coming to HOG. So we have all that and a lot more coming up. You can buy the show, stream it if you want to on Triller TV. That's the ordering page right there. You see the countdown, but hopefully some of you guys will actually be able to make it to the event. But that is where I will be. I will not be covering SmackDown on Friday night, but I've already seen the results. It's a tape show. I'm not missing much. So I'm not too broken up about it. Smoking Dried Chicken says, peaches and cream. It's a good song. And the Winston Slip says, I'm allergic to grass. Wear a mask. If you missed episode 871 of The Sound Off, it is up right now for your listening pleasure. A lot of good stuff on there, so please go ahead and check that out. And thank you again for allowing me to top the learning tree here in the top 10 on Apple Podcasts. Look at that. Fuck the learning tree. That's right. I will see you guys on Wednesday night. We got a big Dynamite coming up. It's Blood and Guts. So come on back here Wednesday night. Of course, I'll be live on JD's channel for TNT Tuesday Night Titans. Before then, that'll be tomorrow night at 8:30 Eastern. Man, this is quite mesmerizing, is it not? I am quite mesmerized, I will say. I'm going to leave now. I'm going to pull myself away. And I suggest you do the same. Oh, man. I will see you back here on Wednesday night. Until then, take care, guys. My goodness. Mother of God.